Hello, welcome. Remember when your child first came into your life? Remember all the mixed emotions that were flowing through you? The love, the excitement, the joy, maybe worry for the future, concerns about how best to protect them, how best to raise them into good human beings. And then later fear and worries and concerns about their health and well-being, about not doing a good job. And especially now, in the situation we're living in, there's so many concerns, so many worries. Do you remember those emotions? What were those emotions? What are those emotions? Just take a moment and write them down. And then, as your child started to grow, there were different emotions. Your emotions grew with your child, right? It was a myriad of feelings. So, for example, it's the overwhelming love. And that pride for every little or big accomplishment, or for no reason at all. For me, often it's for no reason at all. And then more worry. And then fear. Fear for their safety on their bikes, on the street, in their school. For them not liking you. Fear about messing them up. And then you add to that the guilt about yelling at them or about being gruff. About not giving them what they want, even when you know it's not good for them. And then the doubts about not having made the right decisions, the right choices. Can you relate to that? Yeah. It's not easy to admit these types of feelings. Because some people tell us that you're not supposed to have them, right? That as parents, we're supposed to be calm and balanced and always know the right thing to say and love our children unconditionally, right? That raising children is supposed to be a wonderful, blissful experience full of love and light and running through the meadows in beautiful sundresses and never, ever, ever get grass stains. Hi, welcome. Welcome to my talk, The Key to Raising Accomplished Children. I'm Martina, and I'm a certified master coach and founder of the company Art of Parenting. And I've been a life coach for the last 20 years, and have been a parent empowerment coach for the last 7 years. And I don't know about you, but my experience with raising my 4 kids was and is very, very, very different from that fantasy of running through the sunlit meadows. And that's why I'm so excited to be here with you today. Because I see so many parents who want to raise accomplished children, but they get stuck at various moments in their lives. They can feel like their kids are out of their control, or they're worried that they're doing it wrong, or they cannot get their kids to change. And then when we moms and dads get together with other parents, we talk about how challenging it is to be a parent. And we might talk about how our children are misbehaving or how crazy our lives are. Sometimes we even brag about that, right? It's almost like we get a badge of honor for how challenging our lives are. But even though we'll commiserate over these things, we still maintain that Gerber baby fantasy. Do you remember the Gerber baby advertising? There's always the happy, laughing, perfect baby and the always smiling parents. It's the perfect family. And there's something really sneaky about it because we want to believe it. Or worse, we start to compare ourselves to it. As parents, we compare ourselves to something that does not really exist. We talk about how being a parent is hard, but inside, we still have that feeling that we're not measuring up. To the outside world, we pretend that things are great and wonderful. And even to ourselves and our families and sometimes our partners, we pretend that things are crazy and hectic, but still pretty good. And that we love being a parent, always. But we don't talk about how sometimes we feel very alone, miserable, and like we're failing. Because we feel inadequate in comparison to the Gerber baby fantasy, which is actually an ideal that does not exist. Or let me ask you, have you ever seen a family that is always like the Waltons or the family of the little house on the prairie, where problems never, or I'm going to say seldom, last more than a 1 hour episode? Like, I know I have not. And many people will tell you, well, parenting is trial and error, and it's normal. But at Art of Parenting, we actually say that parenting is a creation. It is not just trial and error. You can create what you want and how you want it. Now the question is, how do you do that? Because there is no such a thing as a parenting manual. There is no such a thing as a parenting manual. And there's no real education on how to be a parent. And then so we turn to parenting advice. We read all the books by all the experts, and we see everything from how to discipline your children, to keep your kids busy so they don't get in trouble, or here's the right way to manage your children. But the truth is, general parenting advice doesn't work for every family, for every child, in every situation. There's not just one way of doing it. Really, it's about finding what works for you and for your children. The biggest problem with most parenting advice it's that it's all about the children. How to manage your children, how to control them, how to discipline them, how to change them. But, and this is my thought, in order to raise empowered, accomplished children, the focus needs to shift from the children to the parents and who we want to be as parents, as role models. Because it's not about the children, it's about the parents. When we are empowered and when we change, that's when our children will change. So let me tell you about a parenting moment of mine. I have 4 children. A few years ago, my family took a trip where we chartered a sailboat. There were 4 adults and 4 kids, aged 6 to 12 on that boat. At that time, my older daughter was 8, turning 9. And she's a beautiful combination of girly girl and tomboy. She's feisty and sweet and charismatic. But, she was fighting us constantly on this trip. She didn't like the food. She fought with her siblings. She didn't want to do what anyone asked her to do. Everyone was in her way. It was like nothing was right. Like she was waking up each morning, sporting boxing gloves and ready to fight. And we were trapped with her on this boat. We were trapped with a bus killer. You can imagine I was so irritated. Everyone else was fed up with her. And then on day 3 of the trip, I pulled her aside and I said, we need to talk. This does not work. At first, she blamed everyone, right? She said, it's not my fault. They did this and they said that. And why always me? Why are you picking always on me? And so I took a deep breath and I told her, we're on a boat. There's no way to avoid each other. Something needs to change, or we're all going to have a very miserable time. So can you tell me what's going on? And she said to me, Mommy, I just don't understand. And I asked her what she meant. And she said, I don't understand grown-ups. I don't understand the world. And I asked her, so if you don't understand, why don't you ask? And she said, people will think I'm stupid. And that's when I got it. I now understood why she was fighting. It was because it's not because she was a rebel without a cause, actually. She was fighting because she did not feel safe. Her world was not safe. She did not understand why people did the things they did and why things happened the way they happened. So I decided to be very honest. And I told her that none of us really understands everything. We pretend we do, but we don't. We're happy when someone else asks a question because we're so relieved someone else is willing to ask because we don't dare to be honest and to say that we don't understand. It doesn't feel safe to admit that we don't understand because it feels like we're losing control. So we become arrogant and defensive just to protect ourselves, to try and distract from the fact that we don't know or don't understand. It's a way of trying to keep control of what's happening without letting people realize that we don't understand what's going on. And I remember that when I said this to her, we both started crying because we connected and we were both honest and very vulnerable with each other. And I was able to give her the space to just be instead of having to punish, fight, or try to change the situation. And in that moment, I realized that solving the problem was not about her. It was about me, about my reaction, about what kind of parent I was being in that moment. How did I want to handle that situation? I could have been totally upset and frustrated, bulldozing her, telling her to be quiet. And believe me, I have been there. And I believe most of us parents have been there at one point. But instead, I chose to stop and really look at what was going on. And I took the time to listen to what she had to say, rather than coming from what I know about who she is. I could have said, she's a fighter. She's going to be like this the whole trip. But instead of coming from she's a fighter and of judging her, which is a familiar place for me to go, I took a step back and really listened to her and who she was and what she had to say. And I heard her, and she knew it. And with that, I created something much, much more powerful. From that moment on, her behavior on the boat changed completely. It was really wonderful to see that very sweet nature come back after that conversation. She stopped arguing. She felt heard. That year, she started a new school, which often comes with a lot of insecurities and not feeling safe. So after a couple of weeks, I checked in with her teacher to see how she was doing, and I told her teacher that my daughter sometimes didn't understand. And the teacher told me that she is doing great. She is constantly asking questions. And the courage to do that, especially when you're the new kid, that was the result of our moment of connection on the boat. Of me taking the time to be with her and listen to her, rather than thinking, oh, here she goes again. And I feel so proud of her and so happy for her at that moment. Now, parenting advice books don't really teach you this kind of stuff, like how to feel connected and have powerful conversations with your children. In a moment, we're going to dive into some exercises. And I realized that some of you might not have yet a relationship with your children where you can stay calm, especially right now when we are all overwhelmed and concerned about health and safety. For example, you know when you've been working all day and homeschooling, and then there are more things to do and more demands, and you just don't have any juice left. You want to be patient, but you've been running all day. Well, how would you like a tool that helps you reset? Great, because I'd like to give you a gift. As a thank you for joining me here today, I am going to give you a free Calm Mom meditation. This is a brief meditation, and it will not only support you in feeling calmer, but it will also help you remember who you want to be. And if you would like to receive a digital copy, please go to my website, artofparenting.info, and click on complimentary. And then click on Calm Mom Meditation. Fill out the requested info, and then you're going to get the meditation right into your inbox. So I suggest that in society, often parents think that solving a problem is all about the children, changing the kids' behavior. But really, it is all about us, the parents. Meaning, what kind of parent do I want to be? How do we want to show up for our children? Who do we want to be for ourselves? If you take care of your world, your inner world, if I take care of my own irritation, hopelessness, etc., I can take care of my child. I can be present to hear what my child is saying and show up with love and compassion. What I'm talking about is me taking care of me so I don't get triggered, so I can sit down and talk to her. In that moment on the boat, I had already been doing inner work on myself. Otherwise, I probably would have let things boil over until I snapped. And I've done that many times, and then I'm not proud of myself. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. How to approach raising accomplished children from a place where you take care of yourself as the parent and become the kind of parent you want to be. So you can be the parent your child needs you to be, rather than a parent that some expert tells you that you need to be. And we're going to get clear on what you believe to be true about your children and what you'd like to see change. And then I'm going to give you some tools to help you shift into a place where you're showing up as the kind of parent, as the kind of role model you want to be for your children. Does that sound good? So I'm going to give you as much material as I can during this hour, but I also know that you're probably going to want more. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Before this webinar is over, I will provide you with a way of continuing to work with me. And I would like to dive right into a quick exercise. So if you have a paper and pen ready, grab that. And I want you to write down who you think your child is. Just play along with me. Who are your children? What are they like? What are their good qualities? What are their bad qualities? Or what you consider bad qualities? Or not so good qualities? Are they generous? Are they creative? Are they selfish, jealous, mean? Just take a moment and write down whatever words come to mind. And try to be honest here. Please do not censor yourself. Don't worry about judgment. This list is for your eyes only. Nobody will see it. So just take a moment to write down what you love about your child and what you don't like that much about your child. You can continue that list later if you want to. And now I'd like you to look at that list again and put a star next to any of the traits that really challenge you as a mom. The ones that really give you a hard time or make you angry or lose patience. Or the ones that make you worry the most. So just put a star next to the ones that challenge you the most. Human beings form opinions about everything and everyone, and usually in a split second. And sometimes by forming an opinion about someone, we put that person in a box. And that box is very difficult to escape. I know how my parents are, how my siblings are, how my spouse is, how my children are. And I expect them to be a certain way because that's how I think they are. That's how I learned them to be. I have plenty of experience, right? But the truth is, everybody and everything changes and evolves constantly. And if we think we know how someone is, we expect them to be that way. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because we will look for it and find evidence to prove that our assumptions are right. And it might be frustrating on both ends. It is frustrating for me because I think, oh, they never change, they always say or do X, Y, Z, they will never understand. And also for them, because I put them in a mold and don't let them be different. So let's go back to that example I gave you from my daughter as a fighter, right? If I would not have put the idea of how she is to one side and listened, I could never have created the amazing relationship that came from listening without preconceived ideas. She would have felt that I was trying to manage and control her fighting, and she would have been right. So take another look at the list of all the words that you wrote down. Look at the good or negative qualities you wrote down. Actually, look at the bad or negative qualities you wrote down, especially the ones that you want to change about them. And now ask yourself, but is it true? Are they always like that? Really think. Have you seen the lazy being helpful? Or the mischievous troublemaker being good? Or maybe the selfish one sharing? Or the jokester being serious? Just take a moment and look over the negative or bad or not so good qualities and see if you can write down a quick memory where your child showed you differently. I remember reading a book that said, your kids have your qualities. And, then I started thinking about it, of course, And I could see my oldest is serious. Okay, he's sometimes a little significant. Okay, I can see myself being that. Yeah, I can see that in myself. And my second child is happy-go-lucky. Oh yeah, I can absolutely see that in myself. He's a little mischievous too. And I can see that in myself too. But then I got stuck with my third one. I kept thinking of her as a prima donna. For example, I thought that when she was 3 years old, she was holding out her hands, telling me that they were dirty, expecting me to do something about it. And I was thinking, well, that's not for me. I do not know where she got that prima donna streak from. And then one day, I was taking a pottery class, and the teacher asked me, Martina, what are you working on today? And I said, I don't know. I have to wait until my pieces dry. And she said, why don't you put them next to the fan? And here's how I went. I remembered looking over at the fan, turning back at her and saying, but there's a chair in the way. Like I possibly couldn't be bothered to move the chair myself. And, that's the moment it hit me. It was like, wow, this is it. This is how I'm a prima donna. I don't express it the same way she does, but it's the same for me. That's what I consider a prima donna, right? So now I'd like you to look at your list one more time and see if you can see yourself in any of those qualities. The ones, especially the ones with the stars. Circle the ones that you recognize in yourself. And keep in mind, you may not, or most likely, you won't display these qualities in exactly the same way. I didn't expect anyone to wash my hands like my 3-year-old daughter. But I didn't want to move a chair by myself. And you know what? It's okay to laugh at this, especially if you find yourself circling a lot of the ones that have stars next to them. So just take a moment and look at your list again. And if you can, laugh at yourself. It's pretty revealing, isn't it? Did you find anything that surprised you? Were there any steps that you struggled with? Just make a few notes. When I work with parents, the first thing I want them to understand is that the way we've been taught to think about parenting is based on how we have been parented. We make many of our decisions based on, I want to be like my mom and dad, or I definitely do not want to be like my mom and dad. And then on top of that, there's all the parenting advice. And most parenting advice out there is about how to control or discipline your kids. It's all about the children. There's never really a point where we stop and think, what kind of parent do I want to be? Or how will my actions or reactions affect my children? But really, the way we look at it in Art of Parenting is that parenting is mostly about the parent, about who you are, the skills you have, your ability to communicate with your children. The problem is that we, moms and dads, the parents in us, have not sufficiently learned how to control our own reactions, our own thoughts, our own feelings, because that's never been part of our training. Oftentimes, it's our inability to control our own thoughts and our own feelings that creates the behavior in our lives that drive us and everyone else crazy. Your child is just pushing your buttons. You are the one who reacts. And that has a profound impact on your child. Can you see the vicious cycle? Because our children are always learning from us. We're their role models. And they don't learn by what we say, but by what we do, by who we are. For example, I used to always be rushing my kids because we were always running late. And they would get frustrated when I rushed them, and I would get irritated when they weren't moving fast enough, and then we would be all running late and all be irritated. Great, right? But then I realized it started with me. Even if we only had 15 minutes before we needed to leave, I would start something new. Because there's always something more to do. Okay, I have 2 more minutes. Let me pick up these dirty socks, write this email, or empty the dishwasher. And I would always be a little late. Not much. But then I would rush my kids. And they would get frustrated. But more than that, they also learned that it's okay to be late. And so when I looked at the situation, I realized that I needed to change something. So I started setting a timer to go off 10 minutes before I needed to leave, so I could wrap up what I was doing, even if I wasn't finished yet. And then all of the sudden, it's like a miracle. My kids are ready too. And I remember one day looking around the house for my kids and I couldn't find them. And finally I went to the car and they were all there sitting, waiting for me, ready to go. So we really do teach our children simply by modeling things for them. And one of the biggest things we model for them is how to treat us as moms or dads. And this one is key. If you feel like your child disrespects you or is always demanding things from you. Okay? This is key. Because often your children treat you how they see you treat yourself. For example, a mom who says yes to everything will get trampled by her child because she has no boundaries. They see her doing things for them, even to her own detriment. The kids learn that's how I treat mom. And they also learn not to take good care of themselves. But if they see a mom who takes care of herself, they learn to take care of her and they learn to take care of themselves too. If a dad appreciates what he does, they give value to that too. And they give value to what they do too. But these are the kinds of things that most books on parenting advice don't talk about. They give you skills for how to manage the household, how to discipline your kids, but it's all about doing the work on the outside, focused on working on the kids. But they don't talk about the inside work as a parent. And I'm not here today to give you parenting advice. Instead, we're talking about you, the parent. Because raising accomplished children starts with you. And one tool I teach in my course, Art of Parenting, is to make the choice to look for what's right instead of what's wrong. And this is a concept from Debbie Ford's book, The Right Questions, where she challenges you to ask yourself, am I looking for what's right or am I looking for what's wrong? And I show you how to take that powerful question and use it to transform your relationship with your children. For example, my son asks a lot of questions and he always wants to know what everyone is doing, even to the point of looking over my shoulder when I'm working on something. Now, I could easily look for what's wrong in that and say he's nosy, right? Or I could look for what's right in that and say that he's curious. Essentially, it's the same thing. Both words describes how he likes to ask questions and know what's going on. But they have a very different feeling and connotation. And you know what? I love that my son is curious. He has a zest for life, a love of learning. And I love that he has this love of learning. So instead of getting irritated and thinking of him as nosy when he asks questions, I embrace the questions. I encourage his curiosity and I celebrate his zest of life. And not always. Sometimes I fail too, right? Or when my daughter tells stories, I could say she's a liar, but I don't. Instead, I say that she tells stories. Not only does it help me to keep from reacting in a negative way, but it helps me to encourage her creativity, to help her channel it. And who knows, maybe one day she will write a book and then maybe even pay her bills with that. Wouldn't that be great? Now, the thing is, you can look at all the things your children don't do the way you want to, or where they don't help, or you can look at what they do and where they help and what they're good at. And here's where it gets trickier for parents. When I believe that my child has a quality that I don't like, that I think as a bad quality, I might try and change them. And that's a problem. Because each quality that person possesses has its purpose at its time. That quality exists for a reason, even if I, as the parent, don't know what the reason is yet. So let's say you wrote down the word selfish to describe your child. Now, at first glance, selfish seems like a bad thing, right? Something we want to teach our children not to be. Of course, we all want very generous, loving children. But selfish also helps you take care of yourself. It helps you get what you need in certain circumstances. Or maybe you wrote down the word mean. Sometimes it is appropriate to be mean. As parents, we all have had to be mean when we said no to something that they really wanted. And honestly, there are so many times when it is important for your child to stand up for themselves and to be able to say no, or to tell someone off, and sometimes not in a nice way. Or what if you wrote down angry? Well, if your child has been wronged, wouldn't it be appropriate for them to be angry? In fact, sometimes anger is the driving force behind shifting things and causing change, or in standing up for themselves. In many cases, anger can be the biggest motivator. So who am I to take away something that might be useful for my child? Who am I to force my child to change without exploring why this quality is there in the first place and how this quality might help him or her? And the truth is, people are never just one trait or one quality at a time. But we have a tendency to just single out that one. So just take a moment and look back at the list that you made about your children. And look at those so-called negative words again. Maybe the ones that you put stars next to earlier because they're the ones that challenge you the most. And now take a breath and look for the right in it. Look at the situation again. What was good about it? What's the good thing about that quality? And just make a quick note. Did you find anything that surprised you? Were there any qualities that you struggled with? Just make some notes. Okay, we're going to do another brainstorm exercise, pulling from one of the most important tools parents use in my Art of Parenting course. These questions are from a much longer assessment to help us get clear on what is. So pick up a pen and paper so you can take notes when you want to. And sometimes it helps to close your eyes to be able to be present. So if you want to, just close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Remember not to judge, simply observe. It's really important. Nobody will see your notes. This is for you to gain clarity. Okay? So on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how available are you for your children? Just write down the first thing that comes up. How often do you follow through on what you say you will do? And again, on a scale from 1 to 10. And remember not to judge, just observe. And then breathe again. Are you able to say no when you need to? And now I want you to answer these next few questions as if you were looking through your child's eyes. And should you get challenged, just use your breath to settle back down. Okay? We need to make an assessment to be able to move forward. We need clarity. Okay? So just take a breath and ask yourself, what it is looking through your child's eyes, okay? What is it like for me to have you as a parent? What is it like for them to have you as a parent? And just make a few quick notes. What emotions do they see you express most often? What are they learning about the world through you? What behaviors are you modeling on a daily basis? And take another deep breath. And now I want you to look back at your answers and circle the top 3 answers that bother you the most right now. The ones that you would like to change. And once you got that, I'm going to have you narrow it down even further. Of those 3, just choose the top 1 to focus on this coming week. And the reason I want you to pick just one is because making changes might take time, and it takes a new level of awareness. And if you tackle everything at once, you'll miss things, and you most likely will get frustrated. Or you might drop everything because it's too much. So what is the top 1 thing you want to focus on improving or put your attention on this week? And make sure you write that down. So, how did that feel? Was it inspiring? Empowering? Disheartening? If you want to make a quick note. Now, what I want you to know is that it's just a tiny beginning. Becoming the kind of parent you want to be is still a huge process to go through. I have a child with special needs, and there's no books on parenting advice that tells me how to handle the situation. Nothing tells me how to manage my emotions or my children's emotions around this. Typical parenting books can't even begin to touch this. But the crazy thing is, everyone tries to tell me what to do. They tell me what to do, what doctors to see. Did you try this? Martina, did you try that? And you know, it's all well-meaning. It really is. But it might not be what works for us. And there was a point where I started to look inward to see what really works for us. What works for my family? What does my son need? Who do I need to be to best take care of him? And as a parent, there comes a point where you have to make that decision for yourself and your family. You have to have the tools and the ability to trust yourself. You have to know that you're able to handle whatever comes your way. So for our final exercise today, I'd like you to close your eyes and relax. And take a deep breath in with me and exhale. And I want you to try to imagine. Just go back, all the way back. Remember when you made the decision to become pregnant, or when you first discovered that you were pregnant, or when you knew you wanted to become a mom, when your children first came into your life. Just think back to that time. And remember what your hopes were. What did you dream about? What kind of mom did you want to become back then? How did you imagine yourself being as a parent? What qualities did you imagine yourself displaying? Was it loving, playful, understanding, patient? If you want to take some notes, do that. Just really let your imagination flow. And now I want you to take those qualities and imagine that they are true now. That I could wave a magic wand right now. Ding, there you go. And you could become the parent that you truly want to be. What would that look like? How would it look? Getting everybody ready to get out of the door in the mornings. How would it feel to know that no matter what happens with your children and no matter how they behave, you're able to remain calm and balanced and open and accepting and loving? That you're able to say no when you need to. That you're able to be available physically, mentally, and emotionally when your kids need you. That you're able to be the kind of role model for your kids that you truly want to be. What would that look like? Just make some notes if you want to, or just sit in that beautiful picture. And then take one more deep breath and exhale. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And I want you to know that whatever you imagined, whatever emotion you felt, whatever qualities you saw yourself displaying, I want you to know that it is all possible. Walt Disney says, if you can dream it, you can do it. And as you've already seen here today, it all starts with you. So you are in control. Because unless you take the next steps to make the changes, and unless you learn the tools and skills to become the parent you want to be, unless you take action, it's all just a great idea. When we truly learn how to manage ourselves more effectively, we stop being so reactive. We become a great role model and more loving parents for our children, no matter the challenges. And that's why I'd like to invite you to continue this journey of self-discovery and growth as a parent with the Art of Parenting course. The Art of Parenting course is a course that will show you how to become a better creator of the relationship with your children while creating the best relationship with yourself. In 7 weeks, it will show you how to embody being a great role model for your child or your children. Because once you're empowered, you can model that for your children. You will develop a strong inner foundation so you can effectively deal with guilt and shame and feel proud, worthy, and valued and confident no matter what happens. You will understand how to get connected with your kids time and time again. You will develop more of your own wisdom and intuition So you can eliminate doubt, fear, and second guessing. And you also will learn how to stay calm in times of chaos and exhaustion. Joseph Chilton Pearce said, "We must be what we want our children to become." So let me give you a brief rundown on the course, Art of Parenting. The first class is an honest assessment of the relationship you currently have with your child or with your children. And you will identify which parts need the most attention. And then you will, in class 2, you will create a clear vision and live with intention. And so you will know at all times what your North Star looks like. In class 3, we talk about that waiting for certain things to be in perfect order or until after this or that has been taken care of before we start living our best lives only makes us miss out on the beauty of each moment as it presents itself to you. In class 4, you will discover what thoughts, qualities, and behaviors get in the way of you being the greatest version of yourself as a parent. And then you create boundaries that support the successful outcome of your desires. Class 5 talks about that when we clean up any past situations that could undermine your healthy relationship with your children, you also will learn to lead your family from a spirit of truth and integrity. In class 6, you will learn the power of making conscious choices to create more freedom. And in class 7, you will discover why feeling good about yourself is your top priority. At the end of the course, you will have a greater ability and capacity for empowering yourself and modeling that for your children, because you'll be coming from a place where you are empowered as a parent. You'll have an entire toolbox of new tools and skills that you can use at any time. It is a course for you and about you. It will change the way you parent, and in turn, it will change your children, because who you are always informs how you parent. So you might want to know more about how to buy this course. There's 3 different options to choose from. And I'm just going to give you a rundown on the options, and I will tell you how to find it. So the first option is that you get the 7-class online course, plus 1 clarifying personal parent empowerment session with me and a printable workbook. And this option is for you if you know how to work well independently. So you can take it in the comfort of your own home at a time that works best for you. Then the second option, and this is highly recommended, because I found that many people do not follow through on their own with option 1. So if you're really committed to change, I would recommend this option. If you're anything like me, having like a structure, a solid structure, definitely works. So option 2 offers everything from option 1, and then the added advantage for you if you want to go a little bit deeper and be supported through the course via weekly one-on-one coaching calls with me. And the third option includes the same benefits as option 1 and 2, and to further implement and support you in being the parent you most want to be, you will receive monthly coaching sessions with Martina for a year after you've completed, with me for the year, after you completed the course. So if you want to sign up, go to artofparenting.info and click on About the Course. And maybe you're thinking, I don't know if I have the time to do a course like this. And believe me, I understand. You're a parent, so you're busy, like me. Lists are endless, right? That's exactly why I structured it like this. so you can go through the sessions when you have time. The online classes are about 35 to 45 minutes, and then you can hop on a one-on-one call with me at your convenience. And I will recommend to do one class per week. And there's some exercises and some homework, but it's completely up to you how much time you will put into it outside of the classes. And then I know that you might be still hesitating over the price and thinking that you can afford it. If this is your worry and that's what's holding you back, then you need to ask yourself, how much more time and energy are you willing to waste not having the kind of relationship you want with your children, not having the kind of family life that you want and envisioned back even before you had kids? And the other question I want to invite you to ask is, how much would it be worth to you to have that extraordinary relationship with your kid, while also being able to make space for yourself, to have the peace of mind, to feel grounded and clear on how you want to spend your time with your kids? It is about getting clear on what's actually important. The skills you learn in Art of Parenting course truly last a lifetime and help you become the kind of parent you want to be. This will have a profound impact on you as a parent, and it will in turn affect your kids' lives forever. Now, another question might be, what if my partner's not on board? What if he or she wants to keep parenting the old way? For the children, each parent makes a huge difference. They will feel loved and held and taken care of, even if just one parent is operating from this new way. What it really comes down to is, how committed are you to being the mom or dad you would like to be? As a parent, if you're committed to having an extraordinary relationship with your children, would you want your partner to stop you from having that? So just check in and see. I believe that after you listen to this whole presentation, you know if this resonates with you. We usually know right away. Now, if it does not resonate you, I thank you for having been here, and I hope you learned something today. I really, really do. I'm really committed to changing the lives of our children and of our planet. So thank you, and take whatever works for you into your life. Now, if it does resonate with you, I invite you to sign up. And if you're hesitating, ask yourself why you hesitate. Money is usually not why we hesitate. If we really want something, we will find a way. So I invite you to ask yourself, what is my hesitation? Is it worry? Apprehension? Fear of having to do the work and what might come up? Concerns about not getting out what you wish you would get out of it? Sometimes we hesitate about, silly things, and what we hesitate about would be our biggest gain, not game, if we step into the new possibilities. And in my experience, if you leave here without signing up, you will most likely talk yourself out of it, and you might regret it later. I know I have plenty examples of it, and I imagine so do you. So the thing is, most of us know what we don't want, but hardly anyone sits down to look at, this is the parent I want to be. How do you want your life to look? Where do you want to go? What do you want to create? What kind of relationship do you want? The moment you get clearer on where you are and where you want to be, you can start to work towards where you want to go. And that's what we do in the Art of Parenting course. So again, if you would like to sign up, all you have to do is go to artofparenting.info, click on About the Course, and then go there to sign up. My hope for you is that you've been able to become the type of parent you want to be. That you'll take what you've learned today and what you learn in the course if you choose to join, and to create the type of relationship and space you want for yourself and your family. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions or comments, send me an email to info@artofparenting.info. And if you want to find out more, go to artofparenting.info. Bye for now.